So, what year did you move? Sorry, were you born in OOB?
No,
Okay, so what year did you move to OOB?
1947.
All right.
Where were you born? Dexter, the heart of Maine.
So, do you have any siblings?
I have a half-brother, Howard, who had a different father than I did.
Do they live in, or does he live in town?
No, he's moved to California,
All right.
18-wheeler. He's got a full stuff.
So, where did you live when you first came to OOB and stuff?
Ocean Park, Colby Avenue.
All right.
Had to ride the bus, of course, to come to school. And I remember my first day on the bus, I was nervous, and I said, fiddlesticks, 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 every time somebody would talk to me. A little like today.
Did you go through the OOB school system?
I did. Started, I believe, in second grade on School Street.
What do you remember about going to school here?
What do I remember? I was a teacher's pet in a lot of classes. Went to elementary school on School Street, 2nd through 3rd, and then went to the Federal Building in 4th grade. Then we moved to Kennebunk, so I went to 5th grade in Kennebunk, Park Street School, and then came back for the rest of my schooling, graduated from here.
Did you have any favorite teachers?
Oh gosh, yes. Mrs. Nealon. People will tell you she was a tough teacher, and she was. But she liked me. She was good. She was a real teacher. She was great. And Emerson Cummings in high school, and Charles Laranger in high school, Jerome LePelletier, the principal in high school. He also taught English. Ruth Sterrett in 4th grade at the Federal Building. Those are the ones that come to mind first.
So, what was your childhood like in OOB?
Well, we lived at 24 Central Avenue in a 3-story apartment building that we owned. We rented apartments in the summertime. I was the chambermaid. I also had a horse. And we had to go through the town manager because my mother built a small barn in our backyard on Lake Avenue for the horse, and that's where he lived until we moved to Saco when I went to college.
So, what was your favorite memory of OOB?
Oh, the beach. Oh, that's why I've got spots all over me, because we didn't know better, and we all spent the summer on the beach in the sun. And ruined ourselves, actually.
So what was your first job in OOB?
Well, I was my mother's chambermaid, because we rented our apartments in the summertime only.
Did you have any other jobs in town?
Yeah, I worked at a sort of a little variety store. It's not there anymore, of course, down on Old Orchard Street.
Was there any jobs that you really wanted to do? Or
No. But I had to support my horse. So I had to work. My mother was a single. My father died when I was not even a year old yet.
How much was your pay?
Oh my gosh. I have trouble remembering yesterday. It was very little. I know that. Because I was, 16, 17, 16? And it was very little. I couldn't tell you exactly what it was. Wasn't much.
Okay. So, are there any stories about the history of OOB that you experienced that you'd like to share with us?
The history of it. I was an Eisenhower girl when he was running for president. Dwight David Eisenhower. He was a general. And we had a parade. And we wore dresses they were given to us. Rode in the back of cars, convertibles, down Old Orchard Street. Oh, I remember that just as plain as day. Amazing, I think, to remember. I was an Eisenhower girl, I remember that. And that would have been in the 50s, because I was in high school. When was he president? 52, 3, somewhere in there? No, I would have been 13. 56, somewhere in there. Anyway, I remember that. I don't remember the Ku Klux Klan marching down Old Orchard Street, but I have learned about it since. It passed me by completely. I didn't know that was going on. We weren't as alert to news as you guys are now, you know.
How would you get the message around or something, or travel around town?
Yeah, the news, you know, we had radio. Just barely had TV in 1948, 9. So, you know, and it wasn't anything I would have gone to anyway, you know. So, that's the bad things and the good things.
Things in OOB that drastically changed throughout your time living here, and have you been affected by it in any way?
I need to tell you this. When we were children, when we were 12, 15, 18, girls could go, we always went out in groups, but we could walk downtown safely after dark anytime. It was no problem. If I had a 15-year-old daughter now, I would not send her downtown after dark. So that's changed. The whole of downtown has changed because some of the rides that I loved have just disappeared, been gone. Those are and a lot of building, a lot of new families. Because when I was in Ocean Park, that was a very small, limited community. Very quiet. Nothing went on there except the 4th of July Horribles parade. I have pictures. All the little girls would decorate their doll carriages to go in the Horribles parade. I was 8 or 9, 10, something like that.
What was the Horribles parade?
It was the 4th of July parade. Now they don't call it the Horribles anymore, they call it the 4th of July parade.
Now, why do you think they called it the Horrible?
Well, people dressed up horribly.
Oh.
Costumes and, like I say, the decorated doll carriages and bicycles and, you know, it was just a fun thing on the 4th of July.
Have you been a witness or a victim to any catastrophic events in OOB, and has it affected you in any way?
Apparently not. I can't think of anything catastrophic. The most catastrophic thing was when I was teaching kindergarten on School Street, and we had a whale wash up on the beach, and I marched all my kiddos right down the street to look at him. It was a science project. That's the biggest thing that happened, I think.
What about the ice storm? Or any storms, power outages,
Gone out of my mind.
flooding? Oh, okay.
Yep, gone out of my mind. I would like to stay in Old Orchard. I don't live in Old Orchard now. I wish I could. I would love to move into Cider Hill or someplace like that. But I'm living in Bedford. But, you know, if I could, I would live here. It's where all my memories are, where my childhood, where all my friends come. I got a whole bunch of friends here today that I grew up with.
Why do you want to come here in the first place? Like, what was the tourist attraction, or what made you want to stay here?
Well, I came here in '47, remember I was 7 years old. I didn't have much choice. My mother remarried, and he worked at the Saco Lowell shops in Saco. And so we had to move down here from Dexter, where I was born, to accommodate his job. And we found that house on Colby Avenue, which we owned, and we lived there for quite a while till we moved to Kennebunk. And we owned that house, and then we moved back over after a year, and lived in Ocean Park for a while, and then bought the house on 24 Central.
And what was, like, some of the best things at that house, or the fondest memories that you
Which
remember?
house? Colby
Either
Ave?
one. Either one.
Oh, I can tell you about Ocean Park. There's a big rec hall on the same street in Ocean Park, and they used to have all-age dances there. Square dances, ballroom dances. That's where I learned how to dance. The men, older men, grandfathers, fathers, would teach us. I would dance with them, and they'd teach me how to ballroom dance. Oh, I love going there. Played tennis on the tennis courts in Ocean Park. Played in the woods, you know where the covered bridge is in Ocean Park?
Yeah.
Those woods, which I can't remember the name of right this minute.
Guild Park, I think.
Guild, you're right, Guild. Could walk down from my house on Colby and played in that park safely. All the little girls go down there and play in the trees and the right. This happens to me all the time. Words just leave me completely. Poison ivy. And I never caught it until I was living in Biddeford near the ocean. And then, boy, did I catch it. Oh. But when I was a child, it didn't affect me. That's one of my fondest memories. I never got poison ivy in the woods. And it was safe to walk in the woods. People walk their dogs now there, I think, a lot. They park on Temple and walk their dogs.
So, what was one of your favorite things to do in OOB?
Oh, go downtown. Ride the touring carts. And since I was a horse person, I didn't mind the smells and the odors. I love those. And I love the donkeys. And the Jack and Jill slide. Oh. The old merry-go-round, the original merry-go-round, which they sold and sent away, which was the biggest mistake the town made ever. It was a beautiful, beautiful, I believe it was made in Germany, but I'm not sure. You get that information at the museum if you need it, but going downtown, the rides.
What happened?
There used to be a trampoline act down there. We'd go down and bounce on the trampolines. Yeah.
Do you have a favorite thing to do in OOB now?
We like to go downtown, sit on the benches, and watch the tourists, and eat the pizza and the French fries, pier fries. Old Orchard is famous for its fires, and we've had fires that have cleaned out downtown several times, and that's the way they went. Plus, the donkeys and those things. You'll see pictures of those at the museum too, if you haven't already. People have made lovely paintings of all the rides that used to be there.
Are they accurate? Like,
Oh, yes. Oh, yeah. They're good. Because they were painted by people who were here then and remember that.
So, where was your favorite place to hang out?
Back in the day.
Yeah.
When we were in high school, we had clubs. Each grade level had its own club. Our club, our girls' club, we had girls' clubs, boys' clubs. They weren't integrated at all. There were two boys' clubs, the Blue Diamonds and ISOR. And there were several girls' clubs, because, you know, girls are clubbier than the boys are. And our club's name was the Hornets. And we used to hang around together. We would have meetings. I mean, we were official. We had meetings. And one of the meetings was in a house on Adelaide Road. One of our gals lived there. And she had a rumpus room. That's what it was called back in the day. Down cellar. And we would meet at her house. We were pretty thick. Pretty close knit. Yep.
and was it just a club that you banded together?
Yeah.
Or
Yeah, I think we had dues because we had to pay for the food that we ate at these meetings. We couldn't expect the parents to supply all the food. So we did have dues, and it lasted right through high school. When I was a senior, I was still a Hornet, and it still existed.
was it just something that you did, or was it kind of just something that everybody did? Like,
Everybody in my club. Yep.
So, were there any big, huge landmarks that a lot of people would go to that aren't here today that people might not know about?
The kite track. Did you see any of that at the museum?
And we've seen a
Down
couple
in the
pictures.
corner, in the front room. The kite track, and my best friend's father helped to build that grandstand. And my husband, ex-husband, former husband, father raced sulky horses. And I've got pictures of them racing at the kite track. It's called the kite track because it was a big circle, then it looped around and it was a small circle and looped that way. So it was like figure 8 with a small one on the top and a large one on the bottom. That's all housing now. It's all condos where that track used to be. down off Portland, not Portland Avenue.
Walnut.
No.
No?
Yeah, that's Portland Avenue. Yes, off Portland Avenue. As you turn off Cascade Road and make the big curve, it was right on that big curve on Portland Ave.
Yeah, you can still see it on some maps. It's
Yes.
pretty overgrown, but you can. It's
Well,
still
there's
there.
condos there. There's
Yeah.
actually condos built, right? It's muddy, marshy, clayey, very clayey out there. Everybody expected the track to eventually sink into the earth. But it was good for running horses on it, that clay surface.
When you were growing up.
Much longer. Storms keep taking out the end of the pier. It's called Kate's Still? No. What's it called at the restaurant at the end of the pier?
Pier Patio Pub?
Probably, I don't know. I don't go there anymore. And I haven't been on the pier for a long time, but it used to be much longer. In the 1800s, it was long, but big storms came along. They tried steel pylons for a while, that didn't work. And that's back to wooden ones, you can see from the beach. You can walk under them.
And with the pier, was it the only problems, kind of like storms and all that, or was there any other like smaller problems that happened with it,
On the pier?
like scaling or anything like that,
Oh, no.
or that tried knocking down the pier?
No, I never heard any of that. It might have happened, but wasn't in my area of interest or anything.
Did you ever go to the casino at the end, Carol? Dancing movies.
I'm trying to think. I don't think so. I think at that time I was living in Florida.
Ah, okay.
Yeah.
Do you miss being a kid?
Any 78-year-old you ask that question is going to say, yes. Bring back those years. Yes. But birthdays are better than the alternative, right? So I accept everyone.
And I was just wondering, was there any traditions or something that they would do in Old Orchard Beach that they don't do now? Like something big or something like that.
Well, that would take some thought. I remember my horse, really. Where the high school stands now used to be the Sweat Farm. Big farmhouse, big barn. And there was a riding stable there at one time. But I had my own horse. My best friend on Seaview Avenue had her own horse. And E. Emerson Boulevard, Tifa Turn Road, used to go all the way through to the Ross Road. And Adelaide Road used to go all the way through to the Ross Road. They were fire lanes. They were dirt roads so that the fire trucks could get up to the reclaimed plains in case there was a fire. A lot of blueberry barrens up there. And we used to ride there. We used to ride to Saco. We were kind of famous by having our horses all over town. Rode on the beach. Not summertime, but in the wintertime. Market. Edwards Market. And I used to go down there with my change in my hand and buy penny candy. And come home with my little brown bag and my little penny candy. That's when I was 7, 8, 9, somewhere in there. Now it's a bakery and I don't know what all else. Gift shop. But it was a great big yellow grocery store. That's one of the things that's not there anymore.
Was that like the main thing where people went to, or was there any other big tourist attractions?
Oh
type
yeah,
things?
Ocean Park was famous for its ice cream parlor. It still is, I guess, what I hear. The library's always been there. It's a nice little library. Like I say, it's very quiet. Very quiet. It's a nice antithesis to Old Orchard Beach itself, although it's part of the town, it's not a separate town or anything. Boy, I've been thinking about this interview and thinking of things that I remember.
Was there anything like trails or something that kind of got excavated or something nature-wise?
Well, Tifa Turn Road is no more. It's E. Emerson Cummings Boulevard, named after my high school math teacher. And like I say, it used to go straight through, but now it's Atlantic Village. All those trailer mobile homes, I guess we call them now. And at the end of Adelaide Road is a camping area with a pond and whatever, for people with camping trailers and tents and so forth. Couldn't ride through there now, or the horse or anything else,
Why they name it after your teacher?
because he really, really was a wonderful townsperson. He did more for this town. He was the only black man in town. Back then, we thought nothing of that. He was Emerson, he was Emmy. Just a wonderful man, just loved him to death. Didn't see color when we were in class, you know, he was just here on staff. And the town was segregated to a point. When musical groups would come in town, black ones, Negro ones, they had their places to rent, live, were out on Portland Avenue. That was the only area they couldn't live in town, because segregation ruled at that time, you know. When you think back on it now and the way we think now, we think, my gosh, what a shame. We were so stupid. We were so stupid. Well, not me personally, because I loved the man to death. He was just a wonderful person. Served on the town council and all kinds of committees.
And that,
Okay. So we have a couple extra questions, and we still have a little bit of time left. So if we want to go through those, maybe.
I have 20 minutes left,
All right.
then I have to be somewhere else.
And I'm just wondering if there was any other famous people, or like, you know how your high school teacher got famous for being really nice and all that? Was there any other people kind of like that but didn't really get recognized or written down or something like that? In terms of like helping build stuff? Or?
Well, Charlie Laranger, this school was named after. He was a high school math teacher also. Probably Mrs. Koenigs could answer that question better than I could. Oh, who's famous? We had lots of visiting musical groups and people that performed on the pier in my time. Not that I could afford to go see them, and I was too young to go see them anyway. But we'd see them around town. We knew they were here. Local people made it big. Who made it big? Jeepers. My son's girlfriend that he took to the prom is now the Commissioner of Education in Maine. I know her. She's in her 50s. Nothing is coming to mind. But that's the memory thing. You get to be my age and you forget a lot. Things will pop up all of a sudden. You'll be in bed trying to go to sleep and you'll think, oh my God, what did I think of that? I'll think of a dozen things after I leave here.
You can move on to the extra questions.
Yeah. All right. So, did you did you ever go to any of the concerts at the ballpark or the pier?
All the time. Well, 24 Central is pretty close to the ballpark. I could sit on my front porch and listen to Cher when she was at the ballpark and not have to buy a ticket. And who else was there? Oh God, we had more people at the ballpark, famous people. And of course the pier was everybody back in the day. See, I'm losing names. Rudy Valley was down there, thank you, Lee.
You're welcome.
Like Steve Miller Band, Def Leppard.
No, not my genre at all, at all. I go to the park every summer and go to see not Don McLean, he's now in the news lately, Don Campbell. He's gonna be in the park, and at the ballpark, he was at the ballpark last summer. We don't like going to the concerts at the ballpark like we did in the park. In the park, you take your own chair, you sit on grass, you sit right there when he's right there performing. In the ballpark, I don't know why they moved it, I really don't know why. Because the park is the perfect place for something like that. You go downtown, but you're not downtown. You're, in the grass and the flowers and the trees and the library.
Yes. What was one of the main transports of getting there? Like, what did most people use to get there?
Walk. We walked everywhere. There were only 5,000 people living in this town when I was growing up. And you just walked everywhere. You walked, I lived at the top of the hill, like Union Avenue at the top of the hill, right out there. And walking to the beach was fine. Walking home was really something else. You wanted to go back to the beach and jump in the ocean after you got home. It was really hot, long and hot. What was your question again? I ramble.
What was like the main transport?
Oh, main transport, yeah, walking. Yeah, walking.
And also,
We had milk deliveries at the house. We had tabletop pies deliver at the house. We had the bread people deliver at the house. You kept a box out on your porch with ice in it so the milkman could put the milk in the box and keep it cold if you weren't home.
were you there when the electric trolley was there? Like when they made the electric trolley?
I don't think so. I don't think I ever knew there was one here.
Alright.
That's news to me, thank you.
So did you ever watch any of the horse races at the kite track?
No. Nope,
Did you
Alright.
watch?
that was before my time. My husband's family was racing at the kite track at that time.
So have you met any of the famous people that have come to visit in OLB?
No. No. Seems I'd remember that, wouldn't I? If they were famous, seems like I would. No. No, I didn't. You will, the other kids will be talking to people who have though. There's some 90-year-olds and 80-year-olds that are being interviewed today, so they will remember some of those people.
And were there any big producers or big companies that like supplied a lot of stuff, as in like building supplies to build houses or something?
Oh, big business.
Yeah, or like supplying resources?
No, everybody dealt with Deering lumber and Deering lumber. I worked at the Saco Library after I graduated from college. And that has a Deering room named after Deering lumber that sponsored it. So Deering lumber was probably the biggest, big company, supply company like that.
Is there any like fishing type things, like lobsters or something like?
No, you had to go to Camp Ellis or Pine Point for that kind of thing.
Yeah.
Individuals might have surf fished off the beach when there were no people around. I never did. I fished for crabs and flounder off the little bridge between Ocean Park and Saco.
So have you ever seen the dummy railroad with the steam-powered train?
Nope, I'm not that old.
Were you on the beach when any of the planes landed?
Nope, not that old.
Was it like a big thing when you were born, or was like after the planes landed? Were they talking about it a lot after, or was?
Not to me. I wasn't involved in that at all until I was volunteering at the museum and learned all of that and saw the videos. They're not videos, they're film that were taken at the time. What's his name? Famous pilot landed on the beach.
Lindbergh.
Lindbergh, right, but not when I was here. I didn't see it. I've heard about it later, yeah.
How did you spend your birthdays in OLB?
I have pictures, I took pictures like a fiend, I have all my life. Playing croquet in my backyard at 24 Central. When I was in high school. Yep. Nothing wild and woolly, croquet in the backyard.
So, did you ever go to any of the dances at like any like big ballrooms, like the Palace Ballroom or something?
Yes, in the 60s and 70s. When I was in high school, we went to sock hops on the top floor of the town hall, where the meeting room is now. Rock and roll.
Were there like, you know how the Velvet Hotel was like for fancy or rich people? Were there any other hotels or attractions for that kind of had like?
Oh yeah, a lot
luxurious
of big
stuff?
hotels, but like I said, the fires. Most of them disappeared in the fires. A lot of those. Not when I was, well, there was one when I was here in the 60s that took out a big part of, took out the Jack and Jill slide and the tunnel ride and everything. But before that, the other fires were all before my time.
So the final question that we have now is, what were the restaurants like downtown?
I was looking in the paper the other day and it was an ad for, see now I'm not gonna remember the name of it. It's on West Grand Avenue, near Atlantic, where Atlantic crosses West Grand. Venetia's. Venetia has been there, that restaurant has been there since I was a child. And it's still open now. She had to add the paper the other day. I can't believe it, because they come and go so fast in town, you know. And the place where we'd like to go and entertain ourselves was the, sorry. All I can think about is the one we used to go to in Florida. It's closer to my memory. Top of the hill. Sandbar. The sandbar. Bar being the operative word. You're too young to go there. But we all went there, congregated there. I can remember being in there one day with my teacher friends, and this man who'd been sitting there swaggered up to me and said, "What are you doing in here?" He was the parent of one of my kindergarten kids. I taught in this town too. I said, "The same thing you're doing here, I think." They kept pretty tight control on teachers in that time and what they could do, what they couldn't do, what they could wear and what they couldn't wear, that kind of thing. That was in the 60s.
Carol, where was the sandbar located?
Top of the hill.
Top of Old Orchard.
Yep, where, what's there now? Well, the candy shop for one thing.
Okay,
Yep.
gotcha.
And, yeah. Between Beach Bagels and the town hall.
Okay.
Were there any major changes just in general, like anything about OLB? Because you said like some had strict controls over teachers or
Oh, yes.
like just major changes.
Teachers' behavior was monitored carefully. How they dressed, how they acted. They never caught us at the sandbar. I was never called on the carpet. But it was a different time. Excuse me. It was a different time altogether. We couldn't wear slacks like this now, teaching. Had to be skirts and pantyhose and all that lovely stuff, which most of us hated. Well, we had people in our apartment house. We had people from Canada who came every single year to vacation in our house, one of our apartments. Every year. We got to know them personally. You know? Wonderful, wonderful people.
And in terms of, like, does anything come to mind when, like, did anything surprise you when you were young, as in terms of, like, maybe prices inflated or something kind of big like that?
I wish we had those prices now. So often, me and my friends say, we want to go back to the 50s. It was a better time. It was a quiet time, it was a peaceful time. Probably because the news wasn't as extensive as it is now. I mean, they're in your face all the time, you can't get away with anything. Anybody can. Unless you're president, then you can get away with all kinds of things. But the 50s were an idyllic time for us growing up in Old Orchard. Perfect. Like I said, 5,000 people. 20,000 in the summertime, but 5,000 year round.
Yeah, and as in terms of, what was I gonna say?
Oh, you're losing your memory too. Good.
Yeah.
That makes me feel better.
What did you, like, teach some of the kids in school, or what was the main ideas that most teachers taught?
Well, I taught kindergarten down on School Street. Those buildings are now condos. And later at Jameson School. And then I was school librarian for a while at Jameson School until I went to Wells. Well, I went back to college for my master's degree. And then I went to Wells and taught K-8 library. What did we teach the kids? Well, like I say, took them down to the beach to see the dead whale. We had lots of leeway that way. You could take the kids, you know, hold your buddy's hand, cross the street, down over the hill. But in kindergarten, it's reading, writing, and arithmetic, you know. A lot of kids didn't come to school. A lot of kids, we had some disadvantaged families in this town. So a lot of kids didn't have Head Start to go to, and they came to school with very little learning that they got at home. So it was a pretty extensive job to get those kids ready for first grade, second grade, and so forth. And the classes were large. One year I had 35 kindergartners in the morning and 36 in the afternoon, half day. Yep.
And I'm pretty sure you were around when, like, the prices inflated and all that, but, like, what was everybody thinking when that happened, or what was, like, the main...
I think that all happened when I was in Florida and after I came back. And I was so busy keeping my life together and my child together and earning a living as a single mother that I didn't even think of those things. You needed groceries, you went out and bought them. You know? I bought a car all the time. So the prices must have been pretty good because teachers weren't paid all that much back then. So, new cars. Not used cars, new cars.
Do you have anything to add, Spencer?
No, I think that's it.
Sounds like it to me. I couldn't answer all your questions, but I'm sorry about that, but